Hi everyone, and welcome to She Rides, the podcast where women's cycling takes the lead. I'm Sarah.
I'm Christoph, and today we're diving into the latest race results and hot topics in women's cycling.
And we have a guest joining us to share her story. Let's get started. Ready? Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 39 of She Rides. We're now arriving in, I think, the easier period between the tour and the Worlds. So we just had two stages of Tour de Pologne, and then later on this week we have the Tour de Romandie starting. But I think one of the biggest topics in this last few weeks was weight and just mental health and everything around it actually in the women's peloton. So I think we have a perfect guest to talk about that today. Hi, Clara.
I'm happy I'm here.
So maybe first for the people who don't know you yet, who's Clara Koppenburg?
Hi, everyone. I'm Clara Koppenburg. I'm actually from Germany, but I live at the Swiss border, really in the south part of Germany. And I just turned 30 years. I'm currently riding for Team Cofidis, but I've changed teams. Like I've been riding for EF, for Keratizid, Bicla, Rally. And yeah, I had quite some nice results in the climbs. And the last 2 years, I was more like a domestique rider. I studied sport in Constance, and that's me, I would say.
Nice. So, of course, you're here because of the bike. So, how did the bike first come into your life?
I actually started relatively late. I was always more into track and field, especially the running disciplines, but I also did like 10 years of horse riding. I played tennis, basketball, and soccer. And I did a lot of winter sport like skiing and Nordic skiing. And then I did too much training on the track and field and I injured my knee. So my dad, who is a doctor for a professional cycling team, he just gave me a bike and said, let's try the bike. First, I hated it, but then I started to love it because you could come a lot further than in running and see more out of the world. So I started like riding the bike when I was about 18. And I joined my first team when I was 19, so just a year later. I was starting at Cervelo Bicla at that time, and my first teammate or first roommate, actually, I remember in the training camp was Annemiek van Vleuten. I had no idea who she is later, and now I figured out. Yeah, and then everything was actually going really fast. While I started cycling, I also started studying, and I was just like doing some racing. When I finished my studies in 2018, I completely fully focused on cycling, and since then I'm like a full-time cyclist.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment while you were actually put on the bike just to recover from your injury? Was there a moment where you thought like this is what I want to do? Was it early or did it only came later?
It came probably. I've never been into being a professional athlete at all. I just really enjoyed doing sports, all kind of sports, and I took the bike, and I was just really enjoying to really explore my home and connect with people. And then I got invited from a local for a local training camp, and I was sharing the room there when I was 18 with Liane Lippert. And she explained me, or she told me that she's racing in Italy and sometimes outside of Germany. And I was like, wow, this is so great. Because in running, I only came like in the surrounding of maybe 50 kilometers to do like competition. And then I was just, wow, that's so cool. So I also really want to do it. And so I joined first a little club team of Liane Lippert. And I like also started to train a little bit with her. And then I realized that's like, there's really a big difference between having proper training, doing races and just like riding around. And I really started to enjoy this, like more focusing on getting better on the bike. And then, I just really wanted to try the races.
Yeah, that's nice. And then, you're talking about your early days in the peloton. Do you have like a favorite memory from your first year?
My first year? Yes, actually, in my first year, the team brought me to Philadelphia to do the World Cup in Philadelphia in the United States. And I was like, wow, can it get any better? We had such a good time there. And I think, and I was also doing the Giro in my first year. It was one of my first stage races I've ever done. It was just such a nice experience, and being like taught by really good cyclists, because I was there in the team with, like I said, Annemiek van Vleuten, Ashley Mulvan-Pasio, Iris Lappendale. There were so many good riders, Lotta Lepiste or now Henteler. So I learned from the really best, and I think that was just an amazing first year, and it continue like this.
That's nice, Clara. Now that we had the introduction part, let's get somewhere deeper into your story, Clara. Last week you shared something very brave and very personal on Instagram about your struggle with an eating disorder and a red S.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let's go back to the early ages of your pro.
Mhm.
How did it go? Because that's almost ancient history. It's 12 years ago. So for women cycling, this is almost ancient history. So as a youngster, did you fit in well? Did you get the right coaching, the right staff, or was it just like, hey, welcome, Clara, just figure it out. This is just the Far West still.
I think so. I was for 4 or 5 years in that Swiss team. It was called Cervelo Bicla, Katusha. We changed names a couple of times. And I think I had a really good sport director, Thomas Campana. He taught me everything I had to know. Sometimes it was hard, but I could deal with it really well because it's the typical German way. We say it really clear. And I really liked it. So I think like from knowing nothing, I learned really quickly. And that's exactly how I like it. I think I'm actually happy that I didn't start it when I was, let's say, 8 or 10 years old, and then already being tired of doing the same training camp all over again, always going to Mallorca in December or what. For me, everything was so new and everything was so exciting. And so I'm really happy about that. Within like 4 or 5 years, I developed as a rider like drastically fast, and he he brought me to all the big races right from the start. And sometimes it was just like, okay, today you try to ride the first 30K in the front, just like stay in the front. And then the next race, it's the next 50K. And so in the beginning, I had quite easy jobs, but then I started to had to go back to the car. So he really, from race to race, I had to do more for the team. And he just put me like into the cold water. My first race I've ever done with the team was Trofeo Binder. So it was a World Tour race. In the beginning, most of the time I crashed or I could not stay in the bunch for so long, but I think it was the perfect way to learn everything. And yeah, I don't want to miss any of my first years. I think everything was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, nice welcome to the party. You can start your career with Binda. Okay, so good thing you got the structured German/Swiss way to find
Yes.
your way. Yeah, okay. We can imagine. Yeah. So like you already told, like we already heard, Clara, you like a lot of riders, you just started biking just for the sheer love of bike racing.
Yeah.
So, but when did things actually start to shift a bit from eating consciously
hmm
to like something more restrictive? Like how did it
I
change?
think everything started a little bit around 2018. I was just writing my bachelor degree in this year, and it was quite stressful, but I wrote about eating disorders in female cyclists. So I made a big survey and all over the whole peloton. And so I got more into the topic without actually suffering myself. But I was just really into like getting as much information I could get and was focusing a lot on like all the information. And while I was writing the paper, we got actually quite successful with the team in all the team time trials in Norway and Sweden. And I was preparing for my first World Championships in Innsbruck, and I checked the course, and it was a really climby course. And I just started training full gas. I think I was never that determined. Like in that period, I was training so much. And then it just came quite naturally with the stress of the bachelor degree and all the training, my weight dropped. And suddenly I could feel I'm actually flying up the climbs. There was a drastically shift in my performance, and I didn't saw it as a negative point. I was just like thinking I'm well prepared for the World Championships, and it went well in the World Champs. And from there on, I never really tried to actually lose weight. But once I was like on a little underweight and I was performing so well, I just tried to keep that weight, or like this. And then from there on towards like 2019, 2020, it just got worse and worse. I just lost more weight and more weight, but I was actually still increasing my performance. And then all came like kind of together. I was like a little bit like blocked in a circle of actually getting positive results out of losing weight. And I think that was the most difficult part, because once you have the feeling you're successful with something, you of course not want to give it up. And then I think that was a little bit the problem.
So you went from studying the topic to being the topic, actually, a
Yes.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say it that way. Yeah. So, like you already said, Clara, it's a lot of pressure. It's just results driven, and you were like in the flow of the results, of
Yeah.
course. So you were like, okay, less weight is good results. It's a very dangerous link, of course. You put in your mind. So that's a lot of pressure from yourself, of course. But is it also coming from a was it also coming from a general culture in cycling, or from staff, or from teams, or from the peloton, and in general? Did you feel like the pressure as well from the outside too, like, hey, lose some weight and then you're gonna perform better?
In my case, it never happened, but in my studies, I actually figured out that there is a big problem because I actually asked that question. Did you ever felt like someone told you maybe lose a little bit of weight there, then your performance will increase? And I don't really remember the numbers, but it was a massive number that people try to change their weights due to performance, and that they've not decided it by themselves, but they got told from sport directors or coaches or whatever. So I figured that out, but in my personal case, nobody ever told me to lose weight. I was always a skinny girl, but never like underweight or something. And then once I was really underweight, people were the opposite. They really encouraged me to gain some weight. So I was never in that position that someone told me it would be better to lose some weight.
Yeah, okay, that's well, that's at least a positive for you. But indeed, like you said, like the
Yeah.
culture and the peloton in general might not have been, or might not be, we don't know what it is today, not been the most healthiest of them all. And then if you look at it back now, like in retrospect, it's always very easy, of course, to spot the problems or the early warning signals. But what were they actually, if you look back at it, like, oh my God, I missed this red flag and I missed this red flag? In hindsight, what do you think, like, shit, if I just would pay more attention to this or this or this instead of just my results improving because I lose some weight?
I mean, in general, like I was really not eating well. That's a fact, especially not in training or on the bike. I think that was my biggest weakness that I kind of, because I know I was a little bit controlled by my family in during the day what I eat. So I actually used sometimes the bike to escape that. And I know, okay, if I can, in those 4 hours on the bike, if I don't eat anything, then at least I'm a little hungry later and I can eat then normally with my family. So that was really, if I look back now, that's the worst thing you can do, because if you don't fuel on the bike, there's just no fueling for energy. And then while I'm training, I actually lose muscles. And so training in the end is almost for nothing because you just go deeper and deeper in a hole. But for me, like for a certain period, it kind of worked. And that's then so difficult to change something. But I think that was the biggest problem. And yeah, in general, like if I look back now, I'm really sad about myself, or sometimes a little mad, because I just really, in my daily life, I'm not talking about the bike, because on the bike it was actually fine, but in my daily life it was difficult for me to be surround and eat around my family and my friends, and I really isolated myself, and that's really sad, I think, because I missed a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. And then at which point did you actually realize maybe this isn't just getting good results, but this is actually very unhealthy what I'm doing right here?
It was actually in the end of 2020, when it got really critical with my weight. I was losing more and more, even without trying to lose more. But at one point, my body just went down, and I could not really cope with it anymore. I was just really like mentally destroyed as well. So I went into a clinic for 10 weeks in the end of the season. And it did not really help so much, but I could see, or I made the step in the right direction, let's say. And then in 2021, we had the Corona issue and stuff. Everything was double difficult, I would say, because then also a lot of the clinics, they closed down. You were not allowed actually to go to a clinic, something like this. But then joining Cofidis in 2022 was the first step into the right direction, because the team took more care about me. We had a lot of health, like surveys and everything. We had to do the DEXA scan. We had to do a lot of blood tests and performance tests and stuff. And there they could really see, okay, I'm still like, it's better than it was before, but I'm still like a little bit in the red. So we've worked a little bit more together. And it was, from there on, it got better, but really, really slowly. From there on, I was kind of committed, but never 100% committed, I would say. I was aware of how I look, how I am, and what kind of weight I have. And I wanted to at least be stable in my weight. I was sure I don't want to lose any weight anymore. And it's okay to gain maybe 1 or 2 kilograms, because then I knew, okay, my performance on the climbs would still be really good. But I was never committed to do that drastically change, which I needed. And so I was for another 2 years really stable. It went everything really well because I was in a better condition, but I never made that fully switch in my head and for myself, because still I was going on the bike the right way with it, kind of, it felt like. But also crashing 2 times, in 2021 and 2022. I crashed both times in the Giro, and both times I broke my hip. And that was also kind of a clear sign, because normally you don't break the hip that easily. And being out for 12 weeks, really, I was not allowed to do anything for 12 weeks, just laying around. And I kind of slowly realized, okay, it's not the right way. If your bone density is so weak and so bad, and I mean, I lost my period like in 2019, so I didn't had it for almost 5 or 6 years. And I also, like, as older I got, as more I had the desire to create my own family. So I also knew, okay, you have to make a change, because for me, no bike race would be more important than having the opportunity to have my own kids. And all these little things came together, I would say, in the end of 2023, where I made finally the real commitment. It also had to do something with my dad, because he had a really bad accident on the bike. And I remember when I was in the hospital and he held my hand, and the only thing he said first to me was, "Clara, please keep eating." And at that moment, I was like, okay, you really can't kind of like fuck it up now, because the whole family has to take care about my dad now and not about me anymore. Because before, I was always the central of the family, because everyone was concerned about me, my weight, my health. And at that moment, I really realized, okay, it's not about me anymore. We have to focus on him now. And that was the moment where I fully switched in my head, and from there on it just increased everything, my weight. And now I'm fully fine, but now there is also like the side effects of recovery, which I did the post about mostly.
Yeah, you've come a long way already, of course. But how did people, teammates, coaches, family react once they knew about it?
Differently. I had friends, they always stayed on my side and were really supportive. They were aware, but I could see they were scared, but they could still see the real Clara, my character, and not just a skinny skeleton almost. So that was really helpful. But I also had a lot of teammates or friends who completely turned around and actually told me in my face they don't want to have something to do with me, because it's mentally too exhausting for them to see me suffering like this. Sometimes I was really not happy about it or mad, but I can also understand, because it might also have, I had once a teammate, she had a sister who struggled from eating disorders, and for her it was too emotional. She didn't want it to have the same story over and over again. And when I heard that, I totally also could understand her opinion and about me. And so I think every person, I mean, I really appreciate the support of my family and friends, but I think it's not easy how to treat people if they're having an eating disorder or being in a situation like I've been. So everyone has to figure out their own way, I think. And I could never be mad at someone as long as they treat me nicely. If they just say, I can't have something to do with you, that's okay. But like putting a lot of like bad words into me, that's another story.
Were there actually people in the cycling world that were like, geez, Clara, what are you doing? I mean, just keep doing what you do because your results are good. So why are you now looking for help? Or was it like generally like, okay, we got it. You have a disease. You're ill, actually. You have a problem. Or were there some people who thought like, geez, what are you going to do? You're riding good. What's the problem?
I think because I was in a really critical state. Also now when I look back to the pictures, it was really bad for me. So nobody really would support that anymore. At the point where I was still skinny, but looked not as bad anymore, it was not such a topic anymore, because I was still bringing a lot of great results. And there was never someone who told me, yes, it would be a lot better if you still keep gaining weight. It was just fine how it was, because there was no major risk. It was not great, but there was no risk at that moment. So nobody forced me to gain some weight in these years.
And then that, well, like you said, at a certain point, Clara, you start your recovery. So once you already told us you reached out to a clinic, but was that truly your first step that you took from within yourself, or did you reach out to family, to a coach, to the teammate, or something like, hey, I think I have a problem? Or did you just cope with it yourself, and did you say like, okay, I need to do something myself about it?
I mean, first was my family who realized that I got a problem there because I spent the whole time with them. And quite soon I went to a psychologist at home. I saw him every week. And then once I realized it's not really getting better, but then there was also a lot of other things going on. So in my personal life, so that I decided, okay, right now I'm not getting any further. I'm not making steps in the right direction. So maybe I didn't know if a clinic can help or not, but if I don't try, I will never know. So I just did that step to do everything possible I can do. Also, after that, I immediately went straight back to my psychologist, which I still see whenever I'm home, I can see him. We are not talking so much about that topic anymore, but I think it's helpful for every life situation. So yeah, with friends, I didn't talk so much about it because I don't have friends who are actually involved in this kind of things. None of them are really professional cyclists or athletes, and they also have nothing to do with eating disorders. So when I saw friends, it was mostly just to switch off my brain and talk about normal stuff. But yes, of course, with my family, I talked a lot about it. Yeah.
And were you straight away open about it, or did you keep it to yourself a little bit? Because I can imagine, luckily, right now, like everybody's talking about it. It's a bit sad about Pauline Ferrand-Prévost's Tour win, of course, because that's a little bit in the shadow.
Yeah.
It opened up a lot of discussions, also about menstruation, this Tour de France, about weight eating disorders. But I can imagine, like back then, it was still a taboo. It was still like nobody talks about it. So did you keep it to yourself, or were you straight away like, okay, hey, I have a problem, I want to talk about it?
I was talking about that I have a problem, but I was not considering myself to have an eating disorder. It was really more, I was like in the first years, because I never tried actually to lose weight. I was running to a lot of doctors and tried to figure out if there is something else going on, if I have maybe a leaky gut syndrome or something like this, because like I could not explain because I didn't change so much in my dietitian. I did eat less, but not as much that I could lose so much as I did. And then we thought about the red S. If the energy deficit, I was training so much, but just didn't got enough energy into my body. For a normal person, it would have probably enough energy, but not for this amount of training and the races and stuff. So for the first 2-3 years, I was not really thinking about it, or I actually told myself, no, you're not one of them. You don't have that eating disorder or something. But I was still completely open about that there has to be a problem. Something is wrong with me. I was aware of I have a problem. And so I also had a long talk with our national coach and the national doctor. They were really supportive. They connected me with some really good doctors in Germany. And so I was always talking about it because it was also something I could not hide, because I was a person who was kind of in the media, or because I was racing. So everybody could see, if you're not an athlete or if you're not in public, then you can probably hide it a little bit better, or you hide it in proper clothes. But in cycling clothes, you can see everything. So I could not talk about it or could hide it. So from the first, I was always I was not completely happy in that situation. I was happy about my results on the bike, but in all other life situations, I was really not happy with the situation. So I wanted to make a change, even if I was scared of what could it mean on the bike. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then in the beginning, I think you already told us, but who was the most important for you in those early recovery days? Was it your family, and then your coach was a good support, or your team was a good support? I mean,
yeah. I would say the constant best support was always my family.
Yeah.
Because they always stand behind me. I had a lot of hard conversations with them, of course. And with my sister, she was sometimes really mad at me because she had the feeling I put such a big dark cloud over our family, and it was always just about me, and it was constantly some tension in the air. But she was still like my sister. She would always support me, and the same with my father and my mom. So they were always telling me that they love me no matter what, and they really just want the best for me, and they would help me in everything they can help. So I'm really, really grateful for them. And then also the psychologist I work now for 6 years on or something. It's just like someone who knows you really the best. I can completely open talking to him. And yeah, and then through the teams, it was difficult because I was switching teams quite often. So it was always a new team, new management, new coaches. So that was, I think, a little bit difficult. So some teams, they really didn't want to have anything to do with it. So every team behaved a little bit different, I would say. In 2019, when I was riding for WNT, I was winning the first bike race, my personal first bike race, but also the first bike race for the team that year. And it was really special. And I was like, this is amazing, everything going so well. And then later on in the season, management of the team, they actually stopped me from racing for until I had a certain weight. And at that moment, I was really mad at them. I was like, how can you do this to me? Later, or now, I'm really grateful for that decision. We could have maybe talked a bit or communicated a little bit better to me, because at that moment, I just didn't understand. It was so unfair to me, but they just really wanted the best for me. And I think this is something we have to consider if an athlete is really in such a bad situation. You know, it's like if someone is sick or has a broken leg or has a corona or something, the team is also stopping them from racing, which is completely normal. But in a situation like this, everyone is a little bit, oh, what should we do? Because she's actually bringing results to the team, and that's probably what she likes the most or where she feels the best. And then we just stop her. I think it's really difficult for teams how to handle it. But I think if someone is in such a bad situation or with mental health problems or something else, then if there is a clear communication, I think it's the best thing a team can do if it's communicated with the athlete.
Yeah, hats off to the Cerato's team, yeah, because they
Yeah.
could ride the wave of success you had instead of thinking about your health, because yeah, for them it's mostly about UCI points, of course. So their point of view might be their stake might be different than your health, of course. Yeah, so that's a good thing. And did you feel, Clara, that you were taking seriously when you first started asking for help, or was it something like, what do you have? What is your issue exactly? Just eat more. It might be like a reaction that people might have actually that completely don't understand it. Like, so what's the problem? Just eat. Or was it really like, hey, yeah, this is serious, you have a problem?
I think it was difficult for the teams because at that point, nobody really knew how to help or what to do. It was always, yeah, like you say, just eat more, but just eating more didn't help at all. Like it was just, I had the feeling the food just goes once completely through my whole body. It would have been probably a combination of completely stop doing any kind of sports plus eating more, get the mental support, and that would have been maybe okay. But I also told them all the time, if you stop me from cycling, that's going to be my completely mental breakdown, because that's the thing I love the most, where I feel free, where I feel myself the most. So it was always really difficult, I think, to find the right support. And still, honestly, I think teams are not specialized in it. Like it's not their job, you know. We are there. Teams are there for riding the bikes, to have a good tactic in the field, to make the athletes perform the best. They are not an eating disorder a clinic. So it's really difficult, I think, for teams to figure out how to help athletes who struggle with this the best. In the last 2-3 years, it was also the first time that I was in teams with a nutritionist, for example, which is quite helpful, I would say, because now these days it's so much more about eating properly on the bike. It changed drastically from when I started cycling, let's say. Because I remember I had sometimes also coaches who told me, no, it's good to do some fasted training or something. And now they figured out, especially for women, it's the worst thing you can actually do. Your hormones are completely upside down, all these kinds of things. So I think teams, and especially like the nutritionists and coaches in the team, are a lot more informed now how to train better and how to eat and recover. But it's all more like precautious. I think they are more like how to learn the athletes to what to do right, but I don't have the feeling they know what to do with people who recovered or who are in the situation, because they might not have faced it yet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And about your whole recovery, Clara, what surprised you the most about it? Can be good, can be bad.
Can be bad. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm a lot like happier person for sure. I'm a lot more open to the world. Like I go out, I see more friends, I have my family like constantly around me. And everything is, there's not, like I talked before, there's not that tension anymore. It's just everything is so calm and relaxed, which is really nice, because before I was always stressed and make my plan how to avoid this or when to eat this or that. This all completely changed, which is really, really nice. Another big surprise is that once I started gaining weight, I have the feeling I can't stop gaining weight. I talked to some other riders who are in similar situations and they are the same. I always tell myself, I think my body was in a deficit for so long. And now, once I started feeding him properly, it just keeps all the food. And it's like, oh no, maybe there's a bad time coming again. Maybe Clara is not treating me well in this time. So I really want to hold on the food. And sometimes this is going to my head. And I just hope that the turning point will come where the body is just like starting also to relax and trusts me that now from now on I will always feed you really well in a nice healthy way, and I can also let it go a little bit, because yeah, like I said, like I also wrote in my post that recovery can be really messy, and it's not the same for anyone, you know. It's really not linear. And like I said, once I started gaining weight, I have the feeling no matter how hard I train or what I eat, it just constantly increases a little bit, which is at one point it started also to scare me a little bit, because it's just a completely new body I have. And, you know, stuff like you have to completely change all your clothes, your whole wardrobe and stuff. These are things, they make something with you. So yeah, this is also, for example, that was planned that I have to increase my body fat, because if the body fat is so low, I'm not able to actually increase body weight or muscles. So there was a process I really went through. But I also sometimes have the feeling I contained some water or this and this. And then also when I got my period back a couple of months ago, or like almost a year now ago, I was kind of truly happy, because I was like, yes, that's the best sign you can have from your own body. And now finally you can also have kids again. Of course, it's not that easy, but at least I know it's possible and I'm healthy. But at the same point, I was crying like when I got my first period when I was, I don't know, 14, 15 or something, because suddenly, you know, it felt like I'm a teenager again, and I had to go through all these hormonal processes again. And it's just like if I didn't had it for so long, suddenly you have to like plan a little bit again, and then you feel maybe a little more tired or something. All these kind of shitty side effects, which probably every woman who has their period has a little bit. But at one point I was also like, oh yeah, it sucks a little bit, but I'm still really happy to have it.
Mixed feelings.
Yes.
No, but it's good. It's good that you're back and that you're happy again, Clara. That's the most important thing you can have, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Also, something you mentioned in your post, like you just said, actually, it sometimes feels like I'm going backwards. How do you make sure or what helped you to keep moving forward, although it feels at some points like you are going backwards?
Yeah, with going backwards, I meant like, because like in my daily life, it constantly increases. Everything is going really well. But like I said before, on the bike, it's just really difficult, because at one point, I mean, we all know it's an endurance sport, and the power per kilogram body weight is just, that's just a real number, you know. And if once the balance isn't right, then you're just not climbing with the best ones, and you feel like you're going backwards. And for me, it felt like, you know, you have to think about, suddenly I carried about 14 water bottles on my chest or on my back. You know, that's a massive thing. And I could not completely transfer all the body weight into pure power, because I also, like I said before, I increased also fat and stuff, which is on the bike not really, really helpful. And so I just felt often in the races that I was going a little bit backwards. I didn't even feel it. I mean, it's obviously, if you look to the results, of course, I also changed my position in the team. I was going more as a domestique, but it's just a matter of fact that it's not so easy to keep committing to the right way, because it feels like a little punishment. Because the thing what I love almost the most is like riding the bike, especially on the climbs. It feels like someone took it away from me, or suddenly it feels so heavy. It feels so difficult to climb fast, you know. I mean, I'm still like not not the worst in the peloton, but it's not the same feeling as I had before when I was just flying up the climbs. Of course, now I have other strengths on the bike. I'm a lot better in descending. I'm better in echelons, in the wind, in the flat and stuff. But the ability which I love the most is the fast climbing. That disappeared a little bit, which is, I think, quite normal because, yes, it's just a matter of fact. And this is something I meant with sometimes I feel like I'm punished for it, even if I know it's not really right. It's just a punishment sometimes on the bike. And I'm still 100% sure I chose the right way, because cycling is just like a kind of relatively small period in my whole life. And there's a big part after that. And I really want to enjoy that big part for as long as I can in a healthy and happy way. So I'm still 100% sure and happy about the switch I made.
Yeah, can
You're
imagine that.
just subject to the laws of physics, Clara. You're just subject to that. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
You can't change physics.
No.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a pretty double feeling. Like you of course know like you're doing the right thing, but at the same time it's like, yeah, it just doesn't feel fair, because you should have the feeling like you are awarded for it and not. So yeah, I can imagine that was difficult. And of course we are in a super performance and number focused sport. So how hard is it to keep doing well and to recover in a sport that's so focused on the numbers?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult because especially now we have so many riders available who can perform really on a high level and really good. I think if I would have been in that situation, let's say 5 years ago, it would have been easier to come back to or find teams or perform really, really well. But now the level is so incredibly high. It's getting faster and faster every year. So the pressure of performing and also finding other teams or something is just really stressful, and it gets really every year a lot harder. And so this is something I wrote down with, like, I would think it would be important to give these riders space, kind of, that there are teams who say, hey, we know you've been an amazing rider and we've seen how much you committed and we see how strong you are mentally to make this step, even if it's not always easy. But if you can take this strength on the bike, if you climb or if you do a job for your teammates, because that's mentally, I can be really strong. If I want something, I do it 100%. And that they would be like, I think we can bring you back to the level you've been, and we want to go that way with you and just support you to the fullest. And we want to take that challenge, because I'm not the only rider who's suffering this post-recovery symptoms, or let's say it like this. But I also know it's difficult for teams because, yeah, if they can decide between let's say a young girl who's in their best shape right now for the same price as me, who's not doing super well at the moment, but maybe I can come back. Yeah, then I can't also blame them if they choose the younger rider who's super good right now, because there are always just a certain amount of available spots in every team. But yes, I hope that there are teams who are willing to give these riders some space and the needed support to also make a statement and say, yeah, we are supporting every girl who comes back from an eating disorder or Red S and want to show that we can bring them back to the top level, because I think that's the most important message we can send out, that if you choose recovery, you're not being punished for it, because you will come back and on a better level than you've been before or when you had that difficult times. And I would like to be a rider who shows that I can back a lot stronger than I was. And yeah, I think that's the message I wanted to say mostly.
Yeah, and to all DSs and team owners, Sarah and Clara, give this woman a contract for next season. She has XP points. She can teach young riders how to win a race, how to climb properly, how to attack races. She can teach a lot in the peloton. I mean, she has experience. That's very undervalued today, I think. So if you're listening, just contact her. Anyway, go on, Sarah.
Well, yeah, I think what you just said indeed was a very powerful message, and it would be, yeah, I think dream scenario to have just a team that also shows to other riders maybe struggling right now, like it is possible to recover and still have a place in the peloton. I think that would really be the right thing to do there. So let's hope in the future we can see some of that mindset, I would say, within some teams. But yeah, like you said, you're constantly in this, okay, I'm doing good, but on the bike, it's not going as I hoped. So were there some small wins that reminded you, okay, I am on the right track?
Honestly, in training, I have a win every day pretty much because my training is going really well. I can train a lot more and a lot harder, I would say, that also like than before or in some periods. But in the races, it's more or less the struggle because there, I think there comes the mental part on it that I just have the feeling, oh my God, now there are all the really, really good girls around me and I'm just more stressed about it and mentally give up. But yeah, I think in the training, it goes really well. And I'm always really happy on top of the climb because my descending skills are great now. Because I also, like after my crashes, I took some skill coaches because I was first really scared on the downhill. And like, for example, this year, one of my sport directors, Magnus Beckstedt, who's quite a big name, he told me, "Oh, I saw you descending. You're like, in my eyes, you're one of the best ones." I was like, "Ooh, this is a great compliment." So yeah, and also like that I have the feeling that I can do more different stuffs on the bike. Like it's not only climbing anymore. I can really push a lot of high speed power in the flat as well. And I just feel like I can do a lot more things on the bike now than just pure climbing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good thing. And keep believing in yourself, Clara. You're one of the good ones in the peloton. I know you know it too, but you just better start believing it again,
Yes.
and then everything will follow.
Yeah.
So let's take us back to last week to that well now pretty famous Instagram post you wrote and posted.
Yeah.
How difficult actually was it to like finally press the post button actually? Because I can imagine you can prepare a lot and write a lot,
Yeah.
but then actually you have to push the button and then just like poof, all eyes on me.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I did not expect such a big response. I was like, yeah, okay, my 8,000 followers, they probably see, so maybe 3,000 people see, but mostly they just scroll over it. So, of course, I hope to reach a lot of people with it and to spread the message, but I was never aware of how much I could like reach out and how much I could spread it. But yeah, for like the last 1.5 years, I always thought about I actually really have something to say, and it would feel like a big stone falling off my shoulders to just say it out and not, and also, yeah, just to have the feeling that people don't make their own opinion about me. That like, oh, now she looks so different than like 3-4 years ago. What happened to her? Is she okay or something? Yes, I'm okay. I made that step. I wanted to say it was my own decision. And not that people think, oh, she maybe lost control about her life or something, because suddenly I look so different. I don't know. I just wanted to make my own statement and come or be ahead of someone else's opinion as well. Just really wanted to also kind of jump in after all the conversations of Demi and Pauline and just tell my side of story, because both of them have a really different opinion and view about this kind of topic. But my side is a completely different one because I've literally been there. I've pushed my body to the absolute limit. I was in a really, really bad state, but I made it out of it. And I think it's important to also look at the girls who made it out of it, but who are probably struggling right now, or what does it mean to recover and stuff. And I wanted to also take a little bit the scareness of people who are having the same thoughts of me, that and just show them they're not alone. Because after I wrote that message or the post on Instagram, I got quite a lot of WhatsApp like comments or like Instagram comments from girls who are in exact the same situation. And it just felt so good to talk or chat with them about their feelings in their own skin, in their body, and that they're going to exactly the same stuff. Like what I said before, of this like increasing body weight or containing water or not really knowing how to, like, what is the period or whatever, these kind of things. So it just felt really, really good to share my story and get so many nice response to it. And yes, I was writing the post and I think it took me 5-6 hours to actually push the button, because I did. And then I was not sure about the pictures, because I mean, you can see the pictures somewhere online probably, but to make it myself and post it really and to get them out of their grave kind of. And then also like for me looking so often at the pictures because I didn't know in which direction I should put them or something. And then with every minute I looked more at the pictures, I was so proud of myself to just look normal again now. And when I realized that what kind of step I did, and then I saw myself smiling in the last picture, I was just sure, okay, now you can really push the button and post it, because nobody can actually judge you for that step. Because before I was scared of being judged by it, but now I can really say I'm just really proud of what I did, and I just really hope that whoever struggles can talk open about it or reach out and get the help. And yeah, I can always be a person to contact to, because I have no problem at all to talk about it anymore, because it's nothing I'm ashamed of. It's just what I did, and there's absolutely nothing I'm ashamed of. And I can completely talk open about it, and that feels really, really good.
Yeah, you should never feel ashamed actually if you choose health and happiness over an eating disorder, Clara. So
Yeah.
so that's about right. You posted. That's a good thing. And what kind of reactions have you had since then? I guess were they mostly positive, besides the classic internet trolls, probably. Of course, like Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous, who just feel like they're entitled for their stupid opinion. But how was it perceived? Like let's say in the jungle of
Um,
social media and then outside
yeah.
of it.
Honestly, like I didn't read any negative comments. So maybe
Good.
there are, but I didn't read them. I'm happy about it. No, I got really a lot of positive comments, like either just comments or a lot of text messages also on WhatsApp and from ex-teammates or stuff, especially a lot of ex-teammates who've been with me, teammates when I was in a really low or bad state. And I could feel they're truly happy for me and also kind of proud. And that made me just really, really happy, I think. And yeah, otherwise, a lot of podcast requests and interviews and stuff, because I think really a lot of people want to know more about it or just open up for the topic, which I think is really good. I think it's still important not to hide anything and just, yeah, talk. Like, I think open conversation is the best with this topic you can do.
Yeah, that's great. Great you opened up about it too. I think we both appreciate it for sure. And then you wrote like it still feels like I'm being penalized for healing. So in your opinion, what would need to change so athletes feel more supported when they put their health first? Because like you said from the reactions, like there are a lot of girls and women who are kind of in the same situation as you have been, if you are. So what do you think needs to change so they feel the necessary support to come to seek for help, to put their health first?
I think if an athlete has been struggling and decides to get back to full health, teams or people around them should just give them the needed support and the time. Because once I opened up and I was really completely honest with my teams and the sport directors or nutritionists and coaches and stuff, and then they were also really happy for me, and they said, yeah, we know you're going the right way and we are really proud of you and keep going like this, but we know it just takes some time, just give your body the needed time, but unfortunately we don't have that time. And I'm like, oof, yeah, that's not really what I need right now, because this is putting stress on me. And then mentally sometimes, of course, I thought, oh, if nobody has time for me and I'm not getting fast enough back to the level I've been, that can actually create some internal stress and make thoughts of me. Maybe the easiest way to get fast back to top level is just losing weight again. And that's the worst thing I could do right now. Like maybe I know I have to lose probably a little bit to be in my personal best weight, and then also power to weight ratio, but all in control and never with that feeling. Someone just kind of told me you have to hurry up to get back, and that's the fastest way is just dropping like massively. And so this is something I was really sad about, to be kind of pushed away because they didn't really want to take that challenge or the opportunity. And I think this is something, yeah, we can look more into it. But like I said before, I know it's not easy for teams to focus too much on that, because they have a lot of other riders they can focus on, and that's what they do in a team, to race and not to be the health clinic. But I think this is something I would wish the most, to give these riders who are really committed to get healthy again the needed space and the needed support.
If there's one thing you could tell team managers and coaches about Red S, what would it be?
That I think sometimes they think this girl choose it or did choose it by purpose, and that's not good or something, that they be too judgy. But I'm pretty sure a lot of girls just came into it without actually wanting it. And once you're in it, it's so hard to get out. And being judged for it is really, really difficult, because I think most of the girls, even if they have good results or something, they're not happy about it and they know something is not good. But then being judged is, I think, the worst thing you can probably do, because I'm really sure that most of the girls, or even boys, they didn't choose to be in that situation. It's a mental issue, a mental problem, and it's different if you have and also, for example, if you get cancer, you didn't choose to have cancer, but it's the same with an eating disorder. Most of them didn't choose, but the circumstances or the circle is just like, it just takes you. And yeah, so I think this is something people has to realize. And about Red S, I think, yeah, we just have to find the right balance. But I think teams are doing actually a really good job there in teaching the girls that if you have this outcome on the bike, you have to fill up your body, because otherwise it's not working. So I think in this topic, I have the feeling teams are really improving. Yes.
And yeah, then you just mentioned like an important thing would be to just get the space from a team. And yeah, what does a safe and supportive team environment look like to you, in like ideally, let's say?
I think a little bit what I said maybe before, just to have that, not like the pistol on your chest that you have to perform right now like you did 2 years ago or something, that they see your mental strength, what you did, how you committed, and that they maybe put you in other roles in the bike race, or even discuss to the athlete if that's the right thing right now to do all the races, or what do you actually need. Is it better to like for on training now, or how can we help you also, like how to approach a bike race? Because for me, I've only done all the climbing races, and there I got punished the most, But
Yeah.
maybe I would have been better right now to do a lot of flat stages and always finish in the bunch and do a great job for the team, and have mentally feel better in a bike race and more supportive for my team, or feeling stronger. Because if you're always in that scenario where you probably struggle the most at the moment, the mental side is really important in cycling. And I just, from race to race, I was getting a little bit more nervous about the climbs instead of excited, because I kind of knew, oh God, that's going to be the point where I probably get dropped. And already, if you think about it already before, then you start the climb and you're like, oh yeah, I see, Clara, it doesn't work like this. And I think, yeah, maybe we have to just figure out, and this is probably really individual for every athlete, but therefore it just needs an open conversation within the team, with the sport directors, coaches, or nutritionists, how to help these athletes the best. And also with the nutritionist, I think we can't have the same nutrition plan for every girl, because everyone needs something different. And maybe a girl who comes out of recovery needs a different nutrition than others or something, And yeah, I think this is like the space I needed. And yeah.
Yeah, we of course had the Ceredis thing that maybe wasn't perfectly communicated, but was, I think, a very powerful action to do right then at that moment. Are there any other examples of things that were done right in your career and that you wish would be more common?
Specifically to this topic, or in general?
In general, yeah, just what you want to think.
Oh, I think in general, like if you look back a couple of years and how women cycling is now, it's absolutely incredible and amazing. And I think more and more people are actually also watching women cycling over men cycling, because it's just such a show, so interesting. And I'm just really proud to be one of them. And I think every woman who's in the peloton can be really proud to make it there and to live their dream and be so committed. Because if you look now to the women there, I think in the peloton, all of them do it their full-time job, and they train so hard. A lot of them live apart from home, they all come from Australia or America or something, and all for this one dream, to make cycling, or to ride their bikes and to make cycling fun and create races. And I think this is something we really did really well in the last years, to push women cycling so hard. And yes, I think that's a big achievement, and I think it keeps growing like this.
Well, yeah, let's take a broader look at women's cycling for a second. So yeah, of course, you've been in the peloton for quite a long time already. So what are the biggest changes, maybe apart from the growing attention for women's cycling, you have seen in the sport?
For sure, like how teams are, how is the equipment of a team and everything. We have now a lot more sport directors. We have nutritionists, coaches, all like it's pretty similar, I think, to the men. Of course, it depends what kind of team you are in, if it's a pro team or like a Conti team or something. But in general, it's really like comparable to the man teams. And I think this is amazing because we women deserve that. We need it to perform on our absolutely best. And I think this is a big change. Then, of course, all the races we get, we almost have now all the monuments. And especially with the Tour de France, I think there's not a lot we can ask more for. And yeah, I think these are probably the biggest changes. Of course, also salary is a topic like always. It can get better, of course, but it is already a lot better. I remember the first 5 years, I did not get money, you know. I was happy about like 400 euro at the end of the month in my bank account. And that was amazing because I was still a student and I was like, woo, I'm a student, but I get actually money for my passion, for my hobby. So, and now like the young athletes, of course, they come totally different into cycling. They have already high expectations about salary and teams, equipment and everything. But I think they're also on a lot higher level than we've been probably a couple of years ago. So I think it's a really good development and progress in general.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what are the biggest challenges that still need to be addressed?
I think still like money is always a question, no matter if it's salary or prize money or something. I think this is still like a big step because we all like for what we can do as a woman, we actually train as much probably as men. Of course, you can't completely compare it because we are still women. But if you put it in relation, I think we do a lot. And I think we should be also rewarded by it and not always be scared about our future. If we collect enough money to actually be ready then to be a full-time mom or something, you know, stuff like this. And yeah, I think this is for sure a point. And otherwise, just like what I said before, to be more precautious about health of athletes. But I think honestly, teams are really trying to get better in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's say tomorrow you have a seat at the UCI table. What would you push for to improve immediately?
That's a really difficult question. I know that the UCI and also different cycling organizations like the CPA or Cycling Alliance, they're doing a really great job already with the rider safety, but I think still it's a big topic and has to be constantly improved. There are still too many races which are just too dangerous. Neither is it open traffic or the motorbikes or spectators or anything. You see a lot of bad crashes just to circumstances which can be avoided. And I know it's not easy and they're trying hard to make every race safer. And also a big part comes from us, from the peloton, because sometimes I think we don't respect the rules good enough and treat each other not as nice as we can do. But there is still a big gap we can close there and just make racing more safe. And yeah, I think that would be one of the biggest goals, because in the end, it's still just bike racing and we all want to have a healthy life after that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that would be my biggest question or point.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think Christoph is just heading out at this point, so we'll round this off with the two of us.
It was nice to chat with you. Thank you.
Huge thanks for your appearance, Clara. Really, it was very nice, very brave, very good to have you opening up about this topic and being so open and transparent about it. So,
thank you so much.
Keep going with Sarah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So yeah, let's just talk about something else. What's something you enjoy doing when you're not riding your bike?
I absolutely love baking and cooking. I'm actually thinking about that could maybe be a job after my cycling career. For me, it's so amazing because you can be so free, you can mix so many things and everything is, yeah, I just absolutely love it. And otherwise, I think it's pretty boring, the normal things like meeting friends, family, and playing or walking a lot with my dogs. Yeah, so nothing really spectacular. In winter, I like to do some skiing and Nordic skiing still. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, often I'm also a little tired from training. So
yeah,
then the rest of the day is cooking and
You have a favorite recipe or hard to choose?
No, that's too hard to choose. I really like to try every time something new. And sometimes I'm more into Asian food, sometimes really like the German proper Brotzeit, like just good bread and some toppers or something. I love muesli. I do my own granola. So like every time something else, but as more colorful and more fancy as better, probably.
Yes. And yeah, when you, let's say, when you think about success now, how has the definition changed from where you started?
I mean, still like being successful on the bike mostly comes with results. That I think that didn't change. And it's just like how, in general, a high performance sport is made. Like everyone wants to see great results. That's just like a matter of fact. But of course, the last 2 years, sometimes I also switched my mind a little bit and I just had different success in races. For example, if I could do a really good job for the team and if I had a job and I could do even other jobs or do more of my job or something, that was a big success for me. Or honestly, this year, it sounds stupid, but just to finish the Tour de France was for me a big success. Even like 2 years ago, I was the GC rider and I became a top 15 GC result in the end. And now this year it was more about finishing the tour. Of course, at one point it makes me really sad that I'm at that point now, kind of. But I'm still happy I finished the tour because it was a really hard tour and you still have to push yourself every day to just be in the time cut or to ride in the peloton and to so success, sometimes you have to switch the perspective a little bit, I would say. But yes, of course, if I could choose a victory over just finishing a race as a success point, of course I would choose the victory.
Yeah, but that's being proud to finish the tour is not something stupid. It's for you right now. It's a super cool performance and you can be proud of it. And even though it might suck or it feels stupid, that this is now the point you have to be happy about, it's still something you can be proud of, that you came here and then also finished a super hard tour.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, if right now a rider or someone else with an eating disorder or that is listening, what would be one thing you'd want them to know?
That I know kind of how they feel and that this is also giving them some of control, but at the same time it can be really, really stressful and it can destroy a lot of happiness and relationships in their lives. And nothing is as important as their lives after or their happiness than being just looking skinny or something. The way how you look is never as important as how you are in the inside. How is your character? How is your smile? And I know that these people will be never alone because there are a lot of girls or boys who are struggling with this. And I would always recommend them to just try to reach out, get help, talk open about it, and just give them the feeling that, that they're not alone and that there will be a way out of it. If you commit and if you're open to recover, everyone can do it. I'm pretty sure everyone can get out of it. And you just have to believe in it and see the positive things after you reached your goal, and that life can be a lot more bright after it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note on to just switch to the latest news for a second. So we had the Tour de Pologne the last couple of days, and for now we had 2 sprints. The first one was won by Consoni before Copponi and Katrin Schweinberger. I think in the beginning of the race, I didn't watch it completely. There was a rider from the smaller teams up the road, and then we also had from Volkers Wessels, Anneke Nijnenburg, who attacked, I think, somewhat 28k to go or something, and she stayed in front of the peloton till 3k to go. So that was for the first stage. I have to admit, for the second stage, I only watched the last 500 meters, so I don't really know in terms of breakaway. But it was the sprint was a little heavier. It was on cobbles, and it was won by Zanetti. First, it looked like she was really gonna win with bike length, but in the end, Marie-Lene came closer than expected, and then it was Bertizzolo on 3. So tomorrow we have 1 stage left there. And then we also have World Tour racing again this week. So it's in Romandie. We have a short time trial, and then we have a mountain stage and let's say hilly/mountainous stage there. So I don't know how good the participants list is already. We do know Vollering and Reusser aren't participating, but for the moment, in terms of guests, Margot van Pachtenbeke is on the start list. I don't know, Sarah Gigante is also on the start list, but in previews she isn't mentioned, so no idea if she's riding. Who's at the start? Moolman, Ziegart, Nivia Doma, Bauernfeit, Niedermayer, Kastelein, Royakkers, Chabet, Poes, I thought as well, Fisher Black. Well, yeah, I thought maybe Petra Sjasny, also a guest, should normally be at the start. We have Nienke Benke, the White Jersey. So yeah, I think still quite a start list, not too long after the tour. But maybe we can do our prediction. It has been quite a long time since we did a first 5-10 prediction. You want to start, Clara?
Yeah, now I'm a little unsure about Sarah Gigante because I thought I saw her on the list, but yeah, now we are not really 100% sure if she's that, because otherwise she would have been for sure my winner, because it's like you said, like 2 top mountain finishes, and she climbs, I think, one of the best in the whole peloton. Yeah, but I think also Antonia Niedermayer, she can do really well. Because she's a amazing TT rider. She's a world champion in under 23, but also like in the elite, she was, I think, 4th or something. And she's an amazing climber. So I think she can do probably a podium spot in GC for sure, maybe even winning a stage. And otherwise it's hard to predict because we don't, like you said, we don't have the official start list yet. I always know that, well, you saw in the Tour de France that AG Insuring is doing a really, really good job. And I mean, Oscar Sigard and Ashley Moolman, they're amazing climbers. So I think we can expect something from them. I think it's still difficult to make the final call.
Well, I can give you my predictions. So normally I would, of course, throw in the She Rides bias and go with Sarah. But I am kind of guessing, since she isn't in the previews, she isn't riding. I don't know. So that is why I'm going with Nivia Doma on 1. And I think on 5, Fisher Black, and then Nienke.
I think it's a fine prediction. Yes, I can live with this.
Well, it's dangerous when we think it's a good prediction, because then it always flops. We will see. And other news, we've had our first selection for the Worlds, I think, the Netherlands. Yeah, I think a typical Dutch selection, super strong with some riders who can do very well, but it's always a bit the question how the teamwork will be in the end. So we have Van Anrooy, Kastelein, Royakkers, Vos, Pietersen, Vollering and Van der Breggen. And for the time trial, Vollering and Van der Breggen. And for both time trial and a road race, Soriana Marcus is the spare rider. So yeah, that will be, I think, exciting to see again how, I think everyone watched the last few worlds where all the superstars are coming together. It's always a bit tricky. So yeah, we will see. We also had Pauline Ferrand-Prévot saying she won't go to Rwanda for the worlds, but she will focus on the Euros instead. And then we also had some doping news from Orilla Nerlo. Yeah, she was second in the omloop. I think you remember she said it was unintentional, and there are some, there's now some stuff going on there. So we will see how that ends up there. So yeah, I think for the latest news, that was mainly it. So I would just say, when you're listening, I think it's the perfect time to tune into the Romandie, because could definitely be some exciting racing there. Just before we close up this podcast, just a couple of more questions. How are you looking back at your season so far?
Not really looking greatly back, honestly. I think I had a really difficult season. The start was really difficult for me. Then I got a lot better. I just did a lot of work for my teammates, and being in a lot of races, and also shape got really quite good, I would say. But always just working for the team, which I really like to do. But yeah, if you look at the results, it's a little bit empty there. And now, being in a situation where I'm looking for a team is for sure never really nice, I think, for any athlete, especially if you don't have a lot of opportunities. But right now I'm just keep training and stay motivated and look for opportunities and try to be as positive as I can and figure out.
Yeah, that may be something you look back to with a little more proudness. What's your proudest moment on the bike?
I think my proudest moment was when I was climbing up Mont Ventoux and finished second after Marta Cavalli. I think that was the best day I've had on the bike. Also because there was one of the rare bike races my parents watched and my dad was on top of the climb. And it was just such a unique experience for me because this climb is so hard. And I felt so well that day and did really great. I think that was amazing, but also being at the World Championships in the team time trial in Bergen in Norway in 2017, I think, where we finished with the bronze medal was really special because we were there as a whole team and we trained really hard for it and it was such a nice team effort and yeah, that made us all really proud.
Yeah, nice moments to look back on. And this season, something you're working towards, or
next season, or
no, just
this
within
season
this season, do you still have some races you're working towards, or?
Currently, I don't have races planned, so I'm swimming a little bit around in the unknown, let's say.
Yeah.
Yes, it's difficult to plan at the moment. I will just, I talk to my coach and we just keep the training as it was, just prepare for every scenario, and then we have to see what comes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope for you the best health-wise, but also team-wise. It was super good to have you on here and to have you talk about all this stuff. And well, I think everyone who listened just wish you the best, and we're crossing our fingers for a nice team to give you a call.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's a wrap for episode 39 of She Writes. Make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you like today's show, rating, like, or comment really helps us reach more listeners. Follow us on Blue Sky and Instagram for the behind-the-scenes updates, our guest game, and more. Thanks for listening to She Writes, where women's cycling takes the lead. Keep watching the fun, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.